Hey guys, welcome back to the Will Squared podcast. There's no a senior today, but I am Will Jr., and this is a continuation of our college football podcast. This past week, we went over the first round of games with our two guests who who are now here. First is my cousin Gabe, and his great ass picture in the background. Unfortunately, he will not be there for the quarterfinal.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Gabe, what's up, bro? How you doing?
How you doing, man?
All good.
Sir, yes, sir. Yes,
And our
sir.
second guest, as you can remember, was like Davis. Davis, what's up, man?
Hey there. Glad to be back.
Glad to be back. Well, guys, what a crazy weekend of football, of the college football.
Oh
Safe
yeah.
to say, all the games went pretty bad, honestly. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, the first game that we're going to be talking about, my two least favorite teams, Notre Dame and freaking Indiana. And and I have a lot to say about this, but first I'll let y'all talk. So Davis, go ahead. Talk to
Well, I guess I'll start with, I mean, as you know, that was my upset of the week, Indiana. So of course I'm annoyed with that. And I guess probably the most annoying part of it is just how the game started with
me.
Indiana getting that turnover after the third play,
Yep.
Yep.
and then so they're driving, and like I feel pretty good, like they're going to least, I mean, they're a top scoring offense in college football. So I feel like they're going to get a touchdown. I mean, at worst, a field goal, you know. So, and of course, like they turn it over, which, I mean, it happens. It's on the road, this, that, and the third. But then the fact that, like, then they allowed Notre Dame's running back to bust what, a 98 yarder. So
Yes.
I wouldn't say that the game
Yep.
ended on that, but it was definitely a blow. And then, I mean, after that, it was just Notre Dame just had the momentum and just kept it. And I guess the only thing that was annoying after, well, just during the game and even before, I don't know if you guys caught game day, was just the fact that Coach Canetti, who coaches Indiana, just all the shit he was talking just about, like,
Yes,
he's
I
like,
was
oh,
about to
like
say that. Nice.
we beat ranked teams, like we beat Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska wasn't ranked at the time. Like we beat whoever he was. Like when he was like, oh, we beat Coastal Carolina. It's like, okay, that's something. It's like, but you're not doing it week after week, and then you're talking all this mess about like how you're aggressive and stuff, but it comes out like in the second half, like you're punting, like when the game is like within a two-possession game, like why not just go for it? Like you've been down the whole game, so
Yeah.
you need
Yep.
points. And then if you really trust your defense, if you allow a field goal, like it's still a 2-3 possession game. So like that's probably the most frustrating part of it. Is just like he was just all this mess for, like, honestly, as soon as he got the job, because what I mentioned before, just with him saying that, oh, like Michigan sucks, which I mean they did beat, Ohio State sucks, Purdue sucks. He was saying everyone sucks in the Big Ten. The only big game they played was against Ohio State. Ohio State beat them in, and then essentially they got beat down at Indiana, or I'm sorry, at, well, yes, it was Indiana, but at Notre
Yep.
Dame.
Yep.
Nice. Gabe.
Yeah, I mean, this honestly went how I expected it to go.
Really?
I thought Notre Dame was going to dominate. Um, Now I don't know if it was going to be this dominating, but
Yeah.
I knew that they were going to not have a problem dealing with Indiana. Yeah, I mean that first touchdown, that was like the 98-yard run, right? Fucking crazy. I remember when I saw that, I was like, yeah, this is how the tone is being set early on. It's just buckle in for the ride at this point, basically. Literally looking at stats right now, total yards by Notre Dame in the first three quarters. Notre Dame had 302 in the first three quarters to Indiana's 102.
Yeah.
That just kind of tells you exactly how everything went. But yeah, I mean, it was just a good game by Notre Dame. Like Davis was saying, with all the trash talk happened before, it was kind of like sweet justice at that point. So if you can't,
Nice.
you got to back up the talk if you're going to talk it. So yeah, I that's exactly kind of how I was thinking things were going to play out for that game.
Nice. Yeah. The score line is definitely super deceiving. I mean, it was 27-3 with a minute left. There was just that touchdown, and then the onside kick that they got, and then they got, I think, a field goal at the very end. No, two touchdowns actually. Yeah, two touchdowns. But the
Oh
score line
yeah,
is very deceiving. It was not
Exactly.
a 10-point game. It wasn't a 10-point game. Notre Dame put their foot on their throat and did not get off. Like y'all said, this coach was talking nonstop. So a little part of me really want Notre Dame to kill them, which don't tell my dad about that, please. But yeah, that's really it. They just really bullied them, really bullied them. So this leads, boys, to a great game. Great game. I think it's on the first at 8 p.m. or maybe an earlier one. It is Notre Dame and Georgia. Now, Carson Beck got like surgery this past week, so he is now out for us of the playoffs until about the spring ball or the draft. Sorry, the combine, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we got the backup quarterback from the film against Texas. He was a dual threat, so we might be seeing some like running plays from the quarterback, some power, that kind of stuff. What do you guys like see from this game? Gabe first.
I think it's going to be an interesting game because Stockton is.
Yeah, it's like Stockton. That was his name.
Yeah, Stockton. He is kind of unproven right now.
Fair.
I think him coming in and playing so well against Texas might have been partially like adrenaline fueled. Kind of big emotion in the game. To come off the bench after seeing your QB1 go down with a pretty gnarly injury. I think he was just riding high on some adrenaline right there. And I mean, that just shows that he has what it takes to be a good QB. It's just he's untested right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how he performs. If Notre Dame can get to him and shut him down, it'll make the game really interesting. As far as what I would expect, like winning wise,
Who you got?
Personally, I would love to see Notre Dame beat Georgia just because I want Georgia out, but I actually really think Georgia's probably going to win. It really comes down to Notre Dame's defense and how they can affect Stockton. But then Georgia's defense is pretty lights out when they really need to be. It's going to be an interesting game to see for sure. I mean, we'll get an early feel for the game in the first quarter about how things should go, and then we'll just see if how the teams make changes going into the second half.
Fair. Davis?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to piggyback that, I would say that, Stockton, he's a dual threat, so I feel like they'll run a lot and probably, like do like read option, RPOs, play actions type thing, especially like with ETN as well. And honestly, like the crazy thing is I don't think Notre Dame played that great against Indiana. I just feel like Indiana was just that bad. So Notre Dame just essentially just did enough to get by.
True. Very true.
And I mean, it definitely helped that they're at home as well, but still.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked at the line for that game. I know it's still fluctuating since they don't play until next week, but like I easily see Georgia winning by 10 to 14 points.
Ooh.
For that. And yeah, even with Stockton, like he'll use his legs, and then even it might be one of those like he'll have like a 15 play script type thing, something like how they do in the NFL. And then, but I feel like it's gonna be like a heavy running attack, and Kirby's gonna rely on his defense to contain Notre Dame, which their offense is pretty putrid. So I really don't see them scoring 21 points, probably maybe like 17. Like if they were to get 3 touchdowns, it probably would be like from a turnover or a great special teams play or something like that. So again, I would just see Georgia easily winning that game.
Fair. I think that whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win this game because both offenses are not that high power. We don't know about like Stockton's game much, like what the system is going to be. What kind of stuff they're going to do, if it's a lot like motion, a quarterback running, or something else. But turnover is going to be very key in this game. You need to get your points whenever you can, like keep the ball safe. It's going to be a pretty low-scoring game. I do have the Georgia too as well, just because they have a better defense, and I think they're more like safe on offense compared to Notre Dame. I'll probably go with like a 20 to 13 game, 20 to 16 game, like a low 20s, a high teens up there. But yeah, I got Georgia too. All right. Go into our next game this past Saturday at noon Eastern. What a game for so many reasons. Penn State against SMU. you. I would love to start this off, but I'm not going to. Gabe, please tell us your opinion on this monstrosity of a game. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, I missed a good chunk of this game.
Yeah.
Kind of forgot it was happening. I was so focused on Texas. Yikes. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm like watching highlights and seeing like breakdowns about everything that's happened. It definitely seems kind of lopsided initially. Even though there was a lot of mistakes from Penn State. I'm looking at a stat right now that's saying Penn State only had 2 red zone trips.
Yep.
And then they scored touchdowns on both of those, whereas SMU had 4 red zone trips and only scored 3 points.
That's also true.
Yeah, so I think this was. I mean, honestly, the we know the score, 38-10. I think, quite frankly, that just showed the difference between the two squads. I don't think anybody. I mean, I think I picked SMU to win just because it was like my upset pick, just because I could. But quite frankly, this is really what everyone expected to happen. So we'll just see how Penn State does in their next matchup against a better team.
Yeah, Boise though. So not much of a better team. But before we get into that,
Yeah, there's true.
Davis, your thoughts?
Yep. I mean, not surprised that it was a blowout, and I was more surprised the fact that SMU was driving early to start the game, and like they were in the red zone, so of course they muffed that. And I thought it was crazy the fact that Penn State was up 14-0, and then Franklin decided to go for it on 4th down, didn't convert. So can you imagine all the backlash you would have gotten if SMU like actually scored the on the preceding possession and then end up winning the game partly because of that?
Yeah.
So I mean, but just like you guys said before, it wasn't surprising. Penn State was a better team. SMU isn't used to that, honestly, that type of competition and that weather, especially this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like also like what we said before, it's the fact like Penn State has an easy path. So is SMU. Now they have Boise. So if Franklin can't do it this year, then when, or if ever?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I saw a quote by someone. I'm not sure if it was like a troll comment or a real like reporter, but someone said if James Franklin is winning playoff games, there's probably too many playoff teams, which he's probably right. Okay, because I don't know, we gotta have a conversation about these conferences, man. Because even though we all thought that SMU deserved to be in, we can't ignore that they play in a crappy conference and they only had 2 losses because they played in a crappy conference. I mean, you can put Ole Miss in this game and they'll give them a fight, if not win. Alabama, Miami. Yes, the whole conferences are conferences, but I mean, at some point we have to. It's got to change. Like it has to change, like something, because it's gonna be like this each year. Honestly.
Well, I feel like they're going to change it next year. Just the fact that like
change like something.
I think part of it, like you can't give automatic buys if you win your conference.
Yeah.
Like if like winning your conference means like you clinch a spot, and then I
agree.
I feel like it's also clear and obvious that you should reseed every round. Like because technically Oregon should be playing. Like I guess Penn State would be the highest number seed. So that way, as you know, it would be Ohio State. So I guess that would stay the same.
It's still the top 8, yeah.
But still, so like it would just essentially even out if you also like just reseeded as well. And in regards to the conferences, I mean, yeah, like Big Ten is top heavy. Like it's really like Ohio State, Oregon this year. I guess you can say Indiana, but like anytime Indiana played someone good, they lost. So like, yeah, you only have 2 losses on the season, 1 loss coming to the playoffs. But did you really prove it to be there? Like, and you can say the same with SMU. And like I know that like it's a different committee every year, so like all different committees like they have their mindsets and how they feel. I know FSU fans are still mad of what happened last year, but like again, like that was clear and obvious. They lost their quarterback. They were struggling to win games. Yes, they were still winning, but they're not going to put you in over whoever wins the SEC. Just happened to be Alabama last year, and it just happened that Texas went undefeated and Michigan went undefeated. So that was it for last year. So like I've heard some people say like they're making up, they're trying to do the ACC a solid in regards to that. And like, I mean, we talked about like the SEC stuff. Like every game seems to be a playoff game. It's essentially like a game and a half. I don't know. Like it's clear and obvious that like they need to have like clear and obvious standards of like what qualifies you like to make the playoffs. Like if it's you have to have like at least a top 50 strength of, or I'd say like a top 20 strength of schedule. So like I know like you can't really predict that, but like in the case for like Indiana, like looking back, like if you can't beat Ohio State, then you shouldn't be in this kind of tournament, truthfully.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, and then so even like yes, like South Carolina, Bama, and Ole Miss had 3 losses, and they all have bad losses. But it's also again like we talked about like a TV show. So does Bama put a better fight at Penn State than SMU?
Yes.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Could they get smacked worse? Just a chance. Probably unlikely. And then like Tennessee, like they're from the SEC, of course. They got smacked by Ohio State. So it kind of works both ways with that.
Yeah.
So and honestly, like it's the first year, so I feel like we're all trying to figure out like how it goes as well. So I just feel there's gonna be drastic change next year. And if you're not if you don't have like 1, 2, 3 grades to really good quality wins, ranked wins, you're not going to be considered. That's what I feel like it's going.
That's fair. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It's still like they're still figuring this stuff out. Honestly, I mean, first time they expanded how many teams are in it in the first place, they got to figure everything out to make make the quality of play more level across the board. So yeah, I mean, honestly, everything you were mentioning there about just strength of schedule and different teams that would put up a better fight and all that kind of stuff, taking more things into consideration like that. I think that's something that they'll definitely be looking into after all this is done.
Yeah, and just to go on a little bit more on that, just the fact like they're talking about like SMU, like their best wins were against BYU and Duke. So like you can't really compare that to, and like they lost the conference to Clemson in the conference championship game, compared to like Alabama, who has like they got smacked at Oklahoma, they lost to Tennessee, and they lost to Georgia. So clearly, I mean, you could say that like, and Bama has. No, they didn't lose to Georgia. Sorry, they beat Georgia. Who did they lose to? Vandy. So they lost at Vandy. So I guess that's part of it. But they also have like they won at Wisconsin. They beat South Carolina. They beat Georgia. Yes, they have bad losses, but they also have great wins. Like SMU can't say that. Like, and neither can Indiana. So, especially if you're one conference is significantly better than the other, that's why there has to be like one common denominator. If it's only one team gets in from your conference, win your conference, no questions asked. Schedule tougher opponents, non conference. If you know you're just in a crappy conference, that's one way to fix it as well. Or just win more. Just how like with the NFL, like with the top seeds, just like the Lions keep winning, so everyone else just naturally has to keep winning if you really want the bye. That's just how it is this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. All great points. I do think that they'll change something because this first edition of playoff games was not good. Definitely not what we pictured when we think of college football experience. But back to my point on Penn State SMU. SMU had 3 turnovers in the first half, all picks, and that really just set the game. Penn State's defense was faster, more physical, and their offense just like ran the ball a lot more, and that's really how they won. I mean, 38-10 is crazy, and it was over before halftime. I mean, yeah. All right, but that goes into our next matchup: Penn State against Boise State. Okay. Penn State, obviously the Big Ten runner-up. They beat SMU, as we just talked about. And Boise State has the Heisman runner-up, which we'll talk about soon. Jonty, he needs 131 yards in his possible last game of college football because, obviously it's a one and done.
Yep.
Davis, your opinions on this game? Who's going to win? And will he get the record?
I'd say no, he doesn't get the record.
Oh.
Because, like, he'll obviously have So I'm predicting to have less than 131 yards.
Yes.
But I do have Boise State winning that game. So he'll get the record the following week or whenever the second game is.
Yeah, fair.
So that would be my upset. And I guess just more so, I know you still will talk about the Heisman, but I guess just like his determination, I guess more determination now, the fact that like he didn't win it. But then also just I wasn't really impressed with Penn State. I think part of it, like it's kind of just like Penn State and Notre Dame, like they're kind of one and the same. Just like they have tough home environments, and regardless, September, October, November, it's going to be tough to win in those type of places. So I felt like now it's gonna be like a neutral feel. And Boise, like they played Oregon tough at Eugene, and I wouldn't really say that Penn State played Oregon tough when they played for the Big Ten championship game. So there's that to consider as well. And then I would also say just the fact that like Penn State to me still doesn't have like a great quality win. Again, like they lost to Ohio State for what the 100th straight year, and like essentially like Penn State's in because they didn't have any bad losses, and then Ohio State disintegrated against Michigan. So that's really the only reason like they got to the Big Ten title game. I feel like this would be my upset of the week.
Fair. Gabe?
I'm in the same boat. I think Boise can really win this one. I'm pulling for them. Now I think now I know last episode I definitely mispronounced his name and also put him in the wrong school. Gianti, whatever. I still can't pronounce. Whatever.
Gianti?
That guy.
I can forget now.
The dude, the Heisman runner-up, the running back. I think
Gianti. I think it's Gianti.
I don't know. I say like John T. Honestly, like John.
Yeah.
Or like
that guy. Yeah, no, I think he actually has a real chance to break the record if they're able to really control the running game for sure. I mean, there's a reason he was a Heisman runner-up, and there's a reason why he's so close to breaking the record. And you know your point about Boise playing Oregon much tougher than Penn State did. I think that'll definitely lend itself to him making those plays to get those yards and breaking the record. So I definitely think that Boise can win this one. As far as being like a high scoring like difference, not sure. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if it's gonna be like a super close game or if it's gonna be. I don't think it'll be a blowout either way. I'm gonna say it might come down to like within 10 points, like a touchdown and a field goal away for Boise.
Nice. I have Penn State. Unfortunately, I just feel that Penn State's defense is a lot faster, a physical, and you have a Carter there who's a dog at the defensive end. Do I think that John T will get the record? It will be really obvious to tell if he'll get it after the first quarter. If Penn State score quickly, then they'll have to pass more, and he probably won't get as many rushing yards. But if it stays close throughout the whole game, I do think that he'll get like 35 carries, honestly. And he'll say he gets like 4 yards a carry. And I'm sure that he'll break at least one for like 25, 30, which could help a lot. The Boise defense, I don't feel is as fast or physical as like sometimes what the Penn State offense could be. And if Franklin finds a way to win another playoff game, then I might just pick Penn State to win the whole thing because we're in a different like timeline. I do have Penn State advancing, very tight game as well, probably like a 27-24, I think. Like you guys said, Boise State did fight against Oregon well. It was a long time ago, and Penn State did play against Oregon well, in my opinion at least, until the very end when obviously the turnover happened. But I have Penn State in this game. All right. Our next game is Gabe's favorite one. Texas and Clemson. What a game this was. Gabe, please tell us your thoughts about this game.
I mean, obviously that opening touchdown by Clemson was kind of like a eyebrow raising moment for everyone. I was at a local sports bar where it was just all Longhorn fans, and literally everyone was just like, you could feel like not the air wasn't taken out of the sails, but it was like one of those, everyone's like, oh shit, this is real, type of deal. So that definitely kind of helped set the tone a little bit for the defense, who didn't play super great against Clemson, I will say. They made quite a few mistakes and whatnot, but I mean, they were able to hold them to pretty close of a score, or pretty low points until towards the end of the game. Gave up a couple touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, I think our offense looked pretty good. Ewers played better than he did against Georgia. And yeah, I mean, I never doubted we were going to beat Clemson the whole time. There wasn't anything in my mind that was like worried about that at all. Like I said, the last episode, I was already kind of just looking forward to the ASU game. But I mean, just the yards that Texas got just in the run game between Wisner and Blue was like 306 yards with just the pair. Like it's absolutely nuts. They went off that game. It's like a 6.7 average per carry. So yeah, I mean it was a good game. I did unfortunately miss the ending, like the last like quarter and a half, because I had to take care of my neighbor's dog, so I didn't get to like put eyes on when Clemson tried making that little comeback. So just kind of seeing like highlights and reading articles and stuff. But yeah, I mean, from what I was able to watch, it was a very, very good game. I was happy with what I was seeing. Now there were a couple key injuries for Texas that I know we'll talk about this next, but it might affect the game against ASU. So fingers crossed, everything's okay. And I'm actually pretty excited to see how they do against ASU, who is red hot coming into all of this right now. So,
Davis?
Again, not surprised with what happened, just because like felt like Texas would easily cover the spread, which they did. Mm-hmm. And just the fact that I know Clemson scored early, but it was just like, okay, like I felt like Texas would make the proper adjustments on defense. Shark would call a great game on offense, which I feel like he did. I feel like his playbook has really expanded even from last year to this year with what he's done with even with Euros, who I don't think is all that, but I felt like he's calling in a way where suits him well. I feel like, so I'd say that. Mm-hmm. And just the fact and people were saying Dabo's been there and stuff, which I get, and I know. This is a different Clemson team. There's no Watson, there's no Lawrence. He doesn't have that high, that type of quarterback. That's really what was that was Clemson's engine to everything. Why they were to do so well. When they were winning championships. So I mean, it was just they're essentially there just because they won the conference. I felt I thought it'd be a bigger margin of victory. I was surprised Clemson made a little bit of a run. But it was just I said, I'm not surprised at anything that really happened in that game.
Nice. Yeah, fair. For me, Clemson just had a good first quarter. But that's where it kind of finished off. Texas had a slow start. At the end of the first quarter, it was tied at 7. But the running game finally got going, and that kind of just blew open the whole game by the second quarter. At halftime, it was already a damn 20-point game, and it kind of just cruised on towards the end. And for the Clemson comments, you're just right about it all. I don't got to say much. But this goes on to our next game, Texas against Arizona State. This is not going to be a bad game at all. It's going to be quite nice and interesting. Gabe, please go first. What's going to happen in this game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty difficult game for Texas to play. ASU will definitely make things interesting. I'm looking at it right now. They're opening up the the betting lines at the same favorite as they were against Clemson, 13.5.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But I do think ASU will make it a much tougher game. Again, we got to see how the defense reacts now. They did just play defensively one of the worst games of the season, I think, looking at stats. I think it was Clemson got 412 yards, which is the most the Horns have allowed all season. I think I'm looking further here. I think only one team had gotten over even 300 all season, something like that. So the defense, it's going to be interesting to see how the defense responds, how they adjust. With that injury to, what was his name? Williams. Yeah. He's going to be getting an MRI. Sark was saying that Wisner and Majors could have come back in if they needed to for the game, but he decided just leave him alone. So we'll see how Williams does. Hopefully hopefully he can come back. And we're just hoping that more injuries don't stack up for us, especially if we're going to get past this game and continue on. So yeah, I think Texas will win, but it's definitely going to be a much more difficult matchup than against Clemson. I mean, ASU has that running back. What's his name? Scatabo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that kid's good.
Scatabo.
So we need to be able to try to shut him down. I'm really looking forward to this game. This is a game that I was like wanting to see once I saw the bracket was built. I'm very excited to see how the Longhorns do against this. This will be a good way to kind of get ready to play against the winner of Ohio and Oregon.
Yep.
So I think this is a great first step to getting ready to play against another top team. So I'm looking forward to this game. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be probably nerve-wracking for me. So we'll see how this goes.
Okay, Davis.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm not initially looking forward to it just because I feel like Texas again wins convincingly. So I don't know like what you did to me, Gabe, but just the fact like I don't know if because we went to the game together or if it's the Terry Blacks or what. I'm just like I felt like Texas has driver's seats.
Yeah, like I'm not saying Texas has a chance of losing. I'm just saying it's going to be a much tougher game to where like simple mistakes could really hurt them more against ASU than it could have against Clemson. So that's like the more exciting part to me. It's like
I guess for me, like I don't really see that happening. I feel just like ASU is kind of just like another Clemson. I don't know. I guess it just goes back to like they weren't really tested in their conference, and
true.
They technically made the playoffs just because Colorado like
don't talk about Colorado.
Kansas, that kind of just screwed everything up, and even with BYU shooting themselves in the foot. So, but I mean, like at the same time, I know like they played well in the Big 12 championship game, so I guess that's part of it as well. And then I think also I said like going into like even like when the bracket was first released that like whoever gets the 5 seed, that's probably like the best advantage because like you already played, you're playing at home.
Yep.
And then like you don't have that bye, so like you're already like in the motion of everything. Your schedule isn't changed, so like I really won't be surprised if ASU started off slow. So if that's the case and they're playing against this great Texas defense, how are they going to really? I feel like it's gonna be hard to establish the run after that, especially if you're down 10. I feel like it's gonna be hard for them to establish the run. They might have to throw away their game plan. And so that's part of the reason why I feel like Texas is going to easily win. So I would also say the same for Penn State, but it's really just James Franklin because essentially, like this year, 5 and 6 seed, like Penn State had a home game. They have an easy path. Like they're already in momentum. They're playing a weaker team technically. Like everyone knows Boise State because like of what they've done for the past 10 years. Like when they beat Oklahoma in 2007, like everyone still talks about that, even though players have all left. But it's really just James Franklin and just the fact like I felt like Sark now is obviously just a better coach than James Franklin and just like he knows what to do in high pressure situations. He's proven he's beaten good teams before and potentially would continue to do that.
True. I want personally a more exciting game because especially after this weekend where all the games are pretty obvious.
That was definitely disappointing.
Yeah, it definitely was. Like I was talking to Junior before we started recording. I was in the middle of watching the Texas game and then the Barcelona game at the same time, like because it was just it wasn't
a
that
lot of scores going on.
Yeah,
like
it was like
one.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like the game wasn't so compelling that like I could just sit there on the edge of my seat the whole time. I was able to split my my focus. So I'm hoping for something more entertaining. Yeah. But yeah, I do think I do think the Longhorns are gonna keep the crap out of them. So we'll see how it goes.
I have Texas by a good 10 points. We talk about Arizona State. They have been playing hot the last 4 weeks. They have 3 ranked wins. Yes, they're all in the damn Big 12. And Colorado should probably be here, but we're not going to get into that right now. They destroyed their opponent in the Big 12 championship, Iowa State. I mean, it was pure like dominance. So their defense is playing very well, but they did have a bye week. So it's been about 3 weeks since they played, which in college football might mean something. We don't know. It's been a while since we've had like a bye week for a playoff team. that plays that next week. Like the last 10 years, we've had like 4 teams that all have like 3 weeks off, so there's no real advantage. I do have Texas though. They are faster, they are bigger, and they're smarter. Sark is a very smart coach. The only thing that could prevent Texas from just having a nice cruising win is Quinn Ewers not being Quinn Prescott. Okay, like Gabe said over here, and he was
Yep.
right because there's a few times where I saw Quinn Ewers playing against like Clemson. I was like, don't mess up, please. Just don't mess up. Like, just don't turn the ball over. That's all you gotta do,
Yep.
and you should be fine.
Yeah, he definitely has some decision making. What's the word? Brain farts like Dak Prescott does. Where it's like, why aren't you throwing, or why are you throwing, or why are you waiting so long, or why you're not, whatever. It's just like there are times where you just sit there like, what are you doing? That's the Cowboy experience. When you watching the Cowboys, it's literally watching Dak. You're just the whole time, what are you doing? So yeah, I think as long as Ewers stops doing a Dak impression in high pressure situations, we're golden. So
Yeah, all correct points. All right, and our last 2 games to talk about: Ohio State and Tennessee. Boys, I thought that this would be a much better game. I did think that Tennessee was that kind of dark horse that we don't talk about much that could shock the world. They are fast, they're like physical. They have a decent coach. I forgot his name, but I do.
Hypel.
Heupel, there you go. And I did think that Ohio State, just coming off of that loss against Michigan, would probably be a little pissed and not control emotions possibility. But no, this was a straight dominance, both passing and running. I mean, you can't like blame the weather. Like Tennessee was the same like weather as it in Columbus. But Ohio State just full out dominant, passing and like running. The quarterback had 320 yards. The running game I think was 150. And yeah, like Tennessee couldn't like cause anything. No turnovers, no like long third downs. It was a cruising win for Ryan Day, and I'm happy for them just because of who they face next, which we'll get into in a little bit. Davis, you can go first. Ohio State, Tennessee.
I guess I'll start with, I don't know if I mentioned before, but my boss is a big Vols fan, so she texted me after that, so she was so sad. And I felt sad for her. And but like we were saying, well, just the fact like I thought it was gonna be like the game of the week. I thought it was gonna be a really good game, like an 18 first 9 seed. So like they're close enough. And in the rankings, obviously, and just the fact that like they're both like really good teams, great players across the board, potential All-Americans on both teams, both offensive-minded coaches, both have good defenses as well that have stepped up and also have let off the gas and allowed a lot of points. But just the fact, like Ohio State, they just kicked them in the mouth. It was kind of just like Notre Dame a little bit, but like I felt like Ohio State like played great. Like this is the Ohio State team that I thought was just going to dominate like all year and would have like maybe one loss. Like I thought they'd easily win at Oregon when they played in October or whenever that game was. I thought they'd easily cover and beat Michigan, which they obviously didn't. Yep. So, and just the fact that like yeah, Tennessee had injuries as well, but like they just dominated and like I was a little intrigued, like when it was like when Tennessee like had that little run and it was 21-10. Yeah. It was okay. So I wouldn't say we have a game, but like I'm at least intrigued. Yep. Like they just stopped all that. Like Jeremiah Smith, it's crazy. He's only a freshman. I mean, he's basically the next Julio Jones for Ohio State.
Yeah.
So just like you said, it was passing and running. It was kind of just like any way you want it. And they just contain Nico. Like I know like Tennessee couldn't really establish their run game as well, but like and their defense just that's the thing, like defense always travels, but Ohio State it was just too much. And it was just crazy because it seemed like I wouldn't say it was a home game or neutral, but there were a lot of Vols fans because it's about 6-7 hour drive from here to Columbus, or especially if you're in Knoxville, so that's roughly about 6 hours. Yep. So just the fact like there were so many Vols fans as well. So like that never happens at a place like Ohio State. And it just seemed like it was just more fuel to the fire. And like they were just focused, didn't let off the gas and just dominated. I just felt like it seemed like one of those games where like it'd be close and like Ohio State like pulls it off at the end, or like there's like a costly turnover or a missed field goal, something like that. But nope, it's crazy. Like that was the biggest blowout and biggest convincing win out of all the other teams. And as we know, like they were all blowouts this week. But the fact that like a Big Ten team dominated an SEC team was just crazy.
Yeah, fair. Gabe?
Yeah, I mean, fucking blowout of the century, basically. That is huge. I mean, let's just put it this way. So the first the first 3 touchdowns Ohio got, drove 75 yards in 6 plays, got a touchdown. Vols went 3 and out. Ohio State then drives 68 yards for another touchdown in 4 plays.
Oh my
Tennessee goes 3 and out again. And then Ohio State goes 58 yards to make it 21-0. I mean,
yeah,
they just straight up. Yeah. I mean, not only did they like beat the crap out of them, they took their lunch money too. You know, it's like they manhandled Tennessee. Quite frankly, it was.
And the fact that all that happened in the first quarter.
Yep, exactly. It's absolutely nuts. I am surprised at how lopsided the whole thing was. Like we were saying, you know, we thought this was going to be a much closer game considering the seeding, but I do think Ohio State came out absolutely pissed off and played just the best football they possibly could. And I mean, they're a scary team when they're on it. The problem is this season they seem to be kind of, you know, flip-floppy about whether or not they're completely on and just one of the best teams in the nation, or if they're, you know, losing to Michigan. So very, very crazy blowout. That was just, I was not expecting that for that game.
Yeah, all fair points, boys. Clearly not a game that we were expecting, to say the lightest. But this does lead to probably the best game of this second round. In my favorite college football stadium that they used for the playoffs, in the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day, Ohio State, Oregon, again, the rematch.
Yep.
Gabe, you can go first. Who you got?
So this is going to be, I think, a pretty good game, pretty tight game. I mean, Oregon only won 32-31 previously, and that was purely because of a brain fart on the side of Ohio towards the end of the game, running out of time, just like they did with Michigan. Honestly, I think if Ohio plays the way that they did against Tennessee, I think they win this game. You know, I know Oregon's ranked number 1, but I've never had that view that they were really like the best number 1 we've seen. There have been times where, like, especially like that previous Ohio game, I'm like, Oregon's beatable, you know. So I think if Ohio can keep their heads, you know, in the right place and continue the momentum about how they're going about things with like how they did against Tennessee, I think they can win this one. I don't think it'll be a blowout by either team at all. I think it'll be another close game, kind of like it was previously. I don't know about a 1-point close game, but I would say like a field goal will make a difference. So yeah, this is another game that I definitely have circled in a red Sharpie to make sure I watch this one for sure. Yeah, I think Ohio can pull this off. Yeah.
Nice. Davis, you?
I am also going with the Ohio State Buckeyes. I thought that they were going to win. Like I said previously, they were going to win at Oregon when they played. Yeah, like they barely lost that. They like ran out of time, but it seemed it was more so a loophole with Dan Lanning, just because like he had 12 men on the field purposely, and then like the clock kept running. So you know, like that's why there's only, because initially like it was about 11 seconds when they had 12 men on the field. They snapped it, so it went down to 6 seconds. So that's when Howard decided to run to like maybe do a field goal. So that type of situation, like it's hectic. This is the first time you're playing out there type thing.
Yep.
So like it was going back and forth. So that was a really good game earlier this season. So in the fact like the Rose Bowl, like Ohio State, like, they're used to being in the Rose Bowl, because typically like, well, at least in the past, like whoever won the Big Ten, like they play in the Rose Bowl against the Pac-12 team. That's how it used to be before all money ruined every sport that we love. But so like there's going to be like a strong Ohio State fan base there. I mean, there's Buckeyes literally everywhere in the world,
Yeah.
in the country.
Yep.
So there's that as well. So it's not. it's probably gonna be more Buckeye fans than Oregon fans, which is crazy since it's on the West Coast. But like, I just the fact that like it seems like Ryan Day, another person who's on the hot seat, and again, who we said before, whose life was on the line. It seems like he can breathe now. It's like, okay, like you won a playoff game at home, like you're good-ish. Like so now it's like, okay, let's focus, let's get revenge on this team that we barely lost to, handle business, and keep on trucking.
Yeah.
Nice, all fair points. I too have Ohio State, and I did think that before this I would be the only person to have Ohio State, but you both have Ohio State, so I'm a little like shocked by that. This game is going to be a lot of passing, a lot of offense, and probably a lot of points. I think whoever has the ball last and who has a few early turnovers is going to win this game pretty. Yeah, it's going to be Will Howard against Dylan Gabriel. Both are probably going to have over 300 yards passing. But that one big thing,
Probably.
but the one
I'd
thing
say.
that they can't have is picks. The turnovers is going to be huge in this game because there's going to be points, so you're going to be able to score. But if your defense can cause a few turnovers, that's going to change the whole game.
Yep.
But I am expecting a lot of offense and points. I do have Ohio State with a nice 3-point win by a late field goal, or maybe like a field goal miss, or like a Hail Mary miss, but definitely like a late score.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll be within a field goal for sure. Because Oregon's gonna try to bring it too. You know, they gotta prove why they're the 1 seed, and then Ohio, as long as they keep playing like they're pissed off, I think they'll be able to take it to to Oregon, no problem. And just I think Ohio's gonna win this one, but it's gonna be a close game. It's gonna be high scoring, like you were saying. The previous one was a high scoring game too. Two good QBs. It's gonna be a fun game. It's gonna be a great game for sure. I'm definitely excited to see this one.
Yeah. Well, before we get off, we're gonna talk about the Heisman because it shocked a few of us. I'll just say that. Davis, please.
Well, as previously stated, I wasn't shocked. I thought he'd easily win just because of what he was doing. The fact like he won Defensive Player, which was Jim Thorpe, I think, or Chuck Panerick Award, and then he also won Biletnikoff Best Receiver. So it just seemed clear and obvious. But it was a lot closer. So I know like Genty, like especially like with your point, the fact that like if he's going to break Barry Sanders' record, like that should mean something, which is true. If you're breaking a record that like clearly no one has broken since Sanders wasn't there, since he hasn't played college since like '88 or something like that.
Yeah.
So that should mount for something, and the fact that they're in the playoffs. So I get all that. So it's a unique story. So I said I'm not surprised. I am happy for him. I mean, his speech was okay. Like I get it. It's a shock moment and stuff, and it doesn't seem like he thought like he would win it. So there's that. So I'm just really more interested to see like how Genty reacts now. The fact that like he even said like I felt like I should have won the Heisman, and I just have to prove everyone like in our next game. So just like I'm really looking forward to how Boise State does, and like with that mentality and motivation.
Yeah, that statement is why I think he has a real chance to break the record in this next game, because he's gonna be playing like a guy who has something to prove, and hopefully he's gonna be a little pissed off. So he's gonna have a little bit of an edge to him. I really was expecting him to win the Heisman. One thing I saw that the Oregon Duck did when he was on the Pat McAfee show, he stated, he made a very clear-cut statement. It said, snaps are not stats. So, you can play all the snaps you want, but they don't count for shit when it comes to stats, So I mean, not to say that Hunter wasn't deserving as well. He was a very good player, both sides of the ball for sure, clearly. I still think John T should have won it. But
right. I mean, like I didn't hear that before, but like, yes, snaps aren't stats, but like he's winning awards on both ends of the ball, literally. And like, I mean, of course, like you can make an argument. Like I can make an argument that Ohio State's wide receiver Jeremiah Smith should have won the Biletnikoff Best Receiver in the country. And like, but just the fact that like what Travis Hunter was doing on both ends, it's not like he was just out on the field. Like he was making impactful plays. Like he saved one of their games. It was like their second or third game. With a forced fumble. So, and just the fact, like, Charles Woodson did the same thing. Like, he took a couple, this was in 97, he took a couple of snaps on offense. Most of his damage was done as a returner and on defense.
Mm.
But the fact that, like, Hunter had significantly better stats than he did, and Woodson was a Heisman winner. I know it's a different time and stuff, and it's apples to oranges, but just the fact that, like, he was making impact plays.
Yeah.
Like, anytime Sanders was in trouble, like, that's who his go-to person was on offense. He was making ridiculous catches.
Yep.
Fair.
Yeah, no, like I said, Hunter is deserving. He's a very good player on both sides of the ball. I just, I like to kind of go against the grain sometimes when it comes to all the hype that's, around a player, especially a player that's on a team like Colorado. So
Right.
That's just where my disappointment is.
But I would say, like, it was a lot closer than I thought. And, like, I could really make an argument, like, either way. So, like, it was, like, going into the season, like, I didn't think it'd be, like, that close of a race, especially, like, towards the end. But, like, Kennedy was just keep putting up, like, 150, 180, 160, and, like, they keep winning. And, like I said, obviously, like, his stats have been really successful for Boise State, hence why, like, they even got a bye, because they're still in the Mountain West, like, so they're not even a Power 5. So that's why it's even more crazier, the fact, like, Boise State of all people, like, they have a bye. So obviously Jetty has honestly most to do with that. So I feel like that should be going in consideration as well. So, like, it was a good race. It was just, like I said, really close, a lot closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was pretty convinced that it would be like John T. Like I told you guys, in my opinion, it should have been a Travis Hunter, but with the record and stuff and how it really goes, like you go based on stats for the Heisman, at least in past years. I really thought it'd be John T. So I was very shocked when it was Travis. Just like you, Davis, I was also like proud, obviously, because I thought that it should have been Hunter. I was convinced it was going to be the John T. So that just caught me by surprise. Before the season, I had chosen Quinn Ewers to be the Heisman, which did not go well. I really thought that he would bounce back from the loss this past year against Washington in the playoffs. Had like one more year of Sark. I really thought he'd turn it up and just destroy every passing record on Texas, but obviously not. Travis Hunter, I really hope he stays fit his whole career, because we could be looking at a possible top 10 corner ever in like 20, 25 years. I mean, he has the skills to play corner but catch like a receiver for years and years. I really hope that he does it, and he deserves it. I mean, probably top 10 wide receiver, top 5 corner in the whole country, and he played well like both positions. Like, it's not like he's just there because he can be there. Like, he's a decent corner, decent wide receiver. No, he's a great corner, great wide receiver, good like ball skills, because he's a receiver. So playing corner will just make it that much better. And yeah, again, I just hope he stays fit, like no major stuff happens to him. And yeah, for John T, it is Penn State. But like I said during the whole take, it really depends how that first quarter goes. If Boise State like plays their game where they want to run, then he'll get the game. But if Penn State like starts to pass and score a lot, then Boise might have to pass, which they're not that bad at. They just like run a lot more because they have obviously like John T.
Yep.
But they're not a bad passing team. But that's how it'll go. I really did think it'd be John T though. I was convinced it's gonna be John T just because of that record. Yeah. But
it's hilarious that you were thinking Quinn Ewers originally. I had hilarious.
Sark in my head, bro. I said,
just wait.
Is now out.
Yeah.
You have a full year with the pressure of like freaking Manning on your tail, like play well, or you have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, freaking the nephew on your damn tail. I really thought they'd turn up. I really did think that.
I mean, that is logical, especially preseason. You never know. Like, even like as Dylan Gabriel was the preseason, I was just like, I didn't see it. Like, he's good, but like even now, like I felt like Cam Ward should have been invited to New York instead of him.
Yeah, I think once Manning comes along, I don't know about next year. No, I'm talking about for like just when he becomes like Cam Ward.
I think
He's what?
Yeah, it was Dylan Gabriel. Cam Ward, then
it was Hunter. Maybe was it Cam Ward? Hunter.
Yeah, it was Cam Ward.
Yeah.
It was Dylan Gabriel, Travis Hunter, Ashton John T, and then Cam Ward.
That's right.
But yeah, once Manning takes over next season, I think you give him not next season, but the following, and I think we can have Manning in the conversation going into the season for being a Heisman finalist. I did think Ewers would play better. And in some aspects, I think he kind of did, but he also kind of brought out the Dak Prescott in him a couple times, which is pretty disappointing to see. Yeah, I didn't think he'd be a finalist. So that just kind of made me laugh a little bit that you were saying that.
I had Quinn, bro. I'm sorry. All right. Anyway, great talk, guys. Thank you guys so much for being here, Gabe and Davis.
Yes, sir.
Of course. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, like next week we'll be talking about obviously the third round, and soon enough we're gonna be having another baseball podcast because a lot has been going on for the Yankees and also the entire league. But until that happens, I'm Will Jr. Gabe, if you want to say your name, you can. I don't care. Since like senior here.
Yeah, I am filling in for Will Sr. because I can, I guess.
yeah, sure. Sure, go ahead.
No horns. Welcome.
No horns. Cool, like Davis.
Yes, I guess I'm the rep for Edward Garcia.
Yo.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cowboys. Hey.
No, never that. Never.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys later.
See ya.